It's not that the strong win, but that the winner is strong. Many people are arranged by fate, and arranging fate. Science changes basketball. The team only needs one head, and that's me. It has long been destined that I can only pick flowers among thorns. But what is important is to be persistent in victory and faith. The above comments are all from basketball scientists with 6 billion Komi keywords of the novel. Basketball Scientist No Pop-Ups, Basketball Scientist TXT Complete Collection Download, Basketball Scientist Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Heaven Has a Road, I Will Not Go. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Heaven Has a Road, I Will Not Go. In August 2004, in Staples Center, Los Angeles. Not far from the entrance of the CAFA, a burly elderly man looked at the Chinese-American man across from him with a smile on his face, constantly uttering words like Lakers, change, and future. The waitress not far away could vaguely hear the conversation between the two people, constantly turning her gaze towards this place, speculating in her heart whether the old man's identity was that of a senior executive on the Lakers. You look a bit unfamiliar. While speculating, the female waitress's gaze was more focused on the Asian man opposite him. Although the other person was Asian and not a typical Western handsome man on the hard bridge and hard horse route, she had developed an aesthetic perception of scumbags among girls around the world. His forest-like eyes are so mesmerizing. The waitress secretly recounted to her colleague at the bar the vision she had just noticed. Oh. Is that right? It's not like there's something wrong with the body, is it? How could it be? It's that kind of good-looking thing. When he looked at me just now, I was almost sucked in by his gaze. It looks really bad. I'll see the situation later and ask for a phone number. Didn't you say he had health problems? So what? I just hope for a night of spring breeze. You. Just as the two girls were still wondering if something could happen to Kuyen, the conversation between Lakers' new head coach Tom Janovich and Sun's third assistant Kuyen had ended. After careful consideration, Kuyen agreed in principle to Tom Janovich's invitation to join the Lakers' coaching staff for next season. Happy cooperation, Kimmy. Finally, Tom Janovich found a former partner in his teaching assistant team. Excited, he took the initiative to reach out to Kuyen. Holding Tom Janovich's hand, Kuyen's thoughts gradually returned to 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, when Kuyen had just traveled, he was still in a daze and inexplicably appeared at the training center of the Houston Rockets. He was interviewed for the position of third assistant coach in the team's coaching staff, but was unexpectedly persuaded to resign. Unexpectedly, Tom Janovich's voice gave him an unexpected job with a weekly salary of $5,000. In name, he was responsible for the team's offensive tactical exercises, but in reality, his main job was to serve as the communication between the team and the new generation of inner core, top pick Yao Ming. No translator can convey the intention of the head coach to Yao Ming more clearly and intuitively than members of the coaching staff whose native language is Chinese. Tom Janovich's original plan was to bring Yao Ming's fellow countrymen to help him better adapt to the league, but he didn't expect that Kuyen was much more powerful than he had imagined. Especially in his own job and tactical arrangement on the offensive end, Kuyen is very skilled, and his time in the game is even more exciting than he imagined. The addition of 2 Chinese players helped the Rockets, who were still weak last season, win an additional 15 games and rank 9th in the Western Conference with a win rate of over half, just a stone's throw away from the playoffs. In recent years, few top scorers in the NBA have had such a significant impact on the team, which not only reflects Yao Ming's influence on the field, but also thanks to Kuyen. The prospects of the Rockets, Yao Ming's growth, and Kuyen's future seem to be moving in a better direction, but all of this abruptly came to an end as Tom Janovich's physical condition deteriorated. At the end of the 2023 season, Tom Janovich resigned from the Rockets due to health reasons. The new Van Gundy valued defense and favored veterans, and made arrangements to significantly increase Yao Ming's weight to enhance his inner line killing power. All these measures went against Kuyan's ideas, which ultimately led to Kuyan's resignation in the middle of last season. Fortunately, with a Rockets resume, finding a job becomes much easier. Moreover, during his time with the Rockets, Kuyan not only worked as a translator for Yao Ming, but also demonstrated his talent and absorbed a lot of nutrients during this journey. In an interview in January, he joined the Suns and became the fourth assistant coach next to Suns coach D'Antoni. In fact, in the coaching team, besides the chief assistant, other rankings are not important. For Kuyan, the key is to continue learning from these famous coaches and form his own tactical ideas. To put it simply, for other travelers, it may just be a matter of systematically exchanging skills, but for Kuyan, it takes a lot of time to integrate. In fact, in the conversation just now, Tomjanovich also felt that compared to when he was with the Rockets before, Kuyan had more appropriate tactics for attacking on the field, more tailored to local conditions, and no longer the kind of attacking quickly before the opponent's defense falls, emphasizing the movement of the ball and cover. "Rudy," Kuyan suddenly shouted to Tomjanovich before saying goodbye, "are you sure your body is okay?" "Of course, I won't joke about my body. Accepting the Lakers' job means I can get involved." Tomjanovich spoke without joking about his body, but in Kuyan's impression, he only served half a season with the Lakers before ending his NBA coaching career due to health issues. Many things are not in human affairs, but in fate. Perhaps it was precisely because of his timely retirement from the labor-intensive coaching position that Tomjanovich's later life was relatively happy and peaceful. In 2020, he even made a comeback as a basketball consultant for the Timberwolves. In the 04-05 season, the Lakers experienced the lowest point in their glorious years at both ends of the new century. Although the team had a good lineup, they did not even make it to the playoffs, and ultimately ranked only 11th in the Western Conference. This is unacceptable for the Lakers, who are accustomed to victory and starlight. It was precisely this year's failure that ultimately led to Jackson's return to the Lakers. Tomjanovich is paying for his coffee shop expenses, and Kuyan's current task is to return to Phoenix to complete his resignation procedures, handle the handover of his current job, and then devote himself to his work with the Lakers. Kuyan made his first phone call to D'Antoni. Although he had only stayed in Phoenix for half a season, Kuyan still learned a lot from D'Antoni. Although he had previously worked under Tomjanovich, and during his studies, he himself was mentored by Nielsen, who promoted small ball tactics. However, if someone had a greater influence on him in terms of tactical knowledge, he would not hesitate to choose D'Antoni. "Hi, Mike. What's wrong, Kimmy? Do you have any thoughts to tell me?" At this moment, D'Antoni was still watching the video in front of the TV, designing the team's tactics. The team introduced Steve Nash in the summer, which excited D'Antoni and Kuyan. Both of them agreed that Steve Nash would become the engine of the team's attack, bringing about a completely new transformation to the team. Nash will become an MVP-level player. I have no doubt about it. After the news of signing Nash came, D'Antoni still remembers Kuyan's bold words in front of Suns general manager Cristiano Ronaldo. "Although we haven't been together for a long time, D'Antoni feels that many of the ideas of this young man from China coincide with him, and he is even crazier and bolder than himself. I'm here to say goodbye to you. Because I have a new plan, I accepted Tomjanovich's invitation to join the Lakers. The culture here in the United States is like this: there are not too many moral shackles, people go higher, there are better opportunities, just a resignation report." To some extent, D'Antoni can be considered half of Kuyan's teacher, and Kuyan specifically called to say goodbye. Wow! This news came a bit sudden. D'Antoni paused, but the Lakers are a bit chaotic now, and Kobe is not a very easy-going personality. Anyway, if you make a decision, then I can only wish you good luck. I also hope that everything is going well for you and the Suns in the new season. I am really optimistic that the Suns' new season will bring a different kind of basketball to the league. Next season, the Suns will take off directly under Nash's leadership, which is a 100% chance. From the perspective of brushing resumes, staying in Phoenix is more conducive to Kuyan's prospects. However, as a traveler, if one still wants to develop according to the thinking of ordinary people, it is truly regrettable for this unique fate. Tomjanovich's physical condition is not very good, and he will rely more on teaching assistants. Being by his side will give him better opportunities to test his tactics. More importantly, if Tomjanovic really leaves the team in the middle of the season, Kuyan may be able to compete for the position of acting head coach for the Lakers. The 2-year hibernation period is long enough for a traveler. The new book has been released, and I hope everyone will actively support it. For the new book, following up on this data is too important. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The inner line as thin as cicada wings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The inner line as thin as cicada wings. As a well-known aristocratic team in the NBA, the Lakers are a team that many players and coaches flock to for a reason. The first advantage is that their salaries are high enough. Kuyan's salary for the Rockets is $5,000 per week, which is similar to that for the Suns. After joining the Lakers, Mitch Kupchak directly offered him a contract with an annual salary of $500,000. Looking at the latest remittance of $9,615.38 by Kerry, Kuyan, as usual, used 70% of it to purchase Apple stocks. In his past life, he was a coach who focused on basketball. He worked for several teams, including Cuba and CBA, as an assistant coach, temporary coach, and head coach for a period of time. Apart from being considered a half-figure in the basketball industry, he was no different from ordinary people. He had no knowledge of economics, was not very familiar with stock market trends, and was not a computer expert. His understanding of the rise of various giants was limited to a few jokes in street vendor literature, such as Facebook, Ollie, Google either not online or not listed, let alone the lucrative Bitcoin and Tesla, which have not yet been revealed. Kuyan can confirm that the stocks worth buying and making a steady profit are Apple and domestic real estate. Considering that he comes to the United States to pursue his dreams and will stay there for a long time in the future, Kuyan's investment strategy at this time is to mindlessly invest in the Apple stock. Whether it's up or down, red or green, no matter what the market responds to, it's okay to buy it right after receiving a salary. In 10 or 8 years, don't worry about not having a billionaire, and achieve financial freedom. If you take the money, you have to work. Looking back at history, the Lakers' performance plummeted to the bottom of this season, and it was not an accident. Small and large issues persisted throughout the entire season. Firstly, the team's star player Kobe has been involved in lawsuits throughout the summer. Although with Vanessa's change of heart, Kobe's reputation has risen from the bottom, his pre-match preparations for this season have definitely been affected, which will definitely affect his form after the start of the season. Secondly, many people in the team are still accustomed to the good attacking environment brought about by O'Neal's attacking threat. This season, the team will no longer have this inner beast, and their tactical play will also change accordingly. Their shooting space will be greatly affected, and whether they can adapt to the new tactics is also a question. Finally, there is the issue of adjustment for newly added players such as Odom, Butler, and Grant. After all, it is impossible for the team's lineup to undergo this major transformation without an adaptation period. But the core issue of the team is still the inside line, or to put it more confidently, the team's biggest weakness is rebounding. In his past life, Kuyan also studied the reason why the Lakers appeared to have a decent lineup but did not make it to the playoffs. He discovered a strange statistic. In this season, Kobe was absent in 19 games, with 6 wins and 13 losses for the Lakers. In the 14 games that Odom was absent, the Lakers only had a record of 2 wins and 12 losses. From an intuitive perspective, it can even be concluded that Odom is more important than Kobe. Further analysis reveals that rebounds have become a key factor. Odom, who averaged 10.2 rebounds per game, is the Lakers' rebounding king this season, while starting center Chris Mihm, who averaged only 6.6 rebounds per game for most of the season, seems to be making do with this data, isn't it? But what if it weren't for Odom? The other insiders of the team are Grant, Divac, and Brian Cook, each of whom may seem to have some strengths, but in reality, they can provide very limited help to the team. Brian Grant used to be a good blue-collar power forward in the league, but he is already 34 years old. During his time with the Lakers, he basically lay on the hospital bed and worked as a nurse, to the extent that after the Allen Houston terms were announced, the Lakers immediately bought him out. Divac has also degenerated to the point where he is almost unusable. Even at his peak, he is considered to have poor athletic ability in the center position. Moreover, as he gets older and has suffered several injuries, his athletic ability has further deteriorated. When a player's athletic ability is below the lowest level in the league, even if his skills are good, his help to the team is limited. As for Brian Cook, his three-point shot may be able to help the team, and he cannot be relied on for interior defense and rebounds. Therefore, it can almost be asserted that rebounds are the lifeline of this Lakers team. By doing a good job of protecting rebounds, the Lakers' achievements can teach this Lakers team in history to steadily improve. The reinforcement plan that Kuyen can propose to Tom Janovich at the moment can only reach this stage. Other factors such as Odom's habitual lack of concentration in competitions and Butler's awkward position need to be pointed out and corrected gradually during training. At this stage, it is still necessary to try to adjust what he can change. The next day, Kuyen attended the Lakers coaching staff meeting to discuss the Lakers lineup planning and tactical tactics for the new season. Tom Janovich likes to give the top star in the team ample opportunities to perform. When he was with the Rockets, he basically didn't pay much attention to Francis's reckless behavior. When he came to the Lakers, he faced Kobe, who had a more paranoid personality and a larger card face, and his tactical design was completely centered around Kobe. In Tom Janovich's plan, the player to partner with Kobe in the backcourt is Chalky Atkins, who played for the Celtics last season. He is a typical point guard with high height and shooting guard style, lacking organizational ability. He is fast, has a basket, and has good three-point shots. He moves quickly on the defensive end, but due to his height, his effect is relatively average. Moreover, he pays too much attention to the ball and often gives up marking. Left-handed magician Odom will become the team's starting small forward in the new season. His skills are very comprehensive, and playing well can become a point of organizational connection for the team's attacking end. But with his talent, he hasn't made it to the all-star team yet, because he spent most of his career doing inappropriate things. When the team needed him to organize the attack, he squeezed into the interior and focused on grabbing rebounds. When the team was attacking in a chaotic manner, he rushed in together. When the team needed to defend, he was distracted and leaked. The starting power forward in Tom Janovich's plan is Brian Grant, who is a hardworking and exemplary engineering player in the NBA, always able to score, rebound, and foul around him. Last season with the Heat, he was able to contribute an average of 8+8 points per game, and his defensive performance was also very good. Tom Janovich hopes the team can achieve a balance between attack and defense, and he is a very important point. The returning veteran, Divac, will serve as the starting center. Currently, the Lakers and Kings are very similar in that they have many scoring points within the team, and Divac, who has good hand skills, seems to be able to help sort out the attack on the offensive end. If these players' performances this season can be directly copied from last season, then the Lakers have a good chance of advancing to the Western Conference semifinals, not to mention the playoffs. However, the NBA has never been like this, and even competitive sports have never been like this. A new head coach, a new tactical system, new teammates, a new season, everything is different. Rudy. After the meeting ended, Kuyen called out to Tom Janovich, "Is it convenient to chat?" At the recent meeting, it was evident that Kuyen seemed to have many of his own ideas. Tom Janovich nodded and said, "Of course." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Targeted treatment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Targeted treatment, what to drink, tea or coffee. During the year spent with Kuyen, Tomjanovich accepted tea culture from East Asia and even collected a set of tea sets that Kuyen gave him. However, more often than not, this tea set is just an office decoration, only used occasionally to entertain guests, and its display significance outweighs the need for tea tasting. Let's have tea, I think you have a lot to say. Before Kuyen could speak, Tomjanovich made a decision on his own and immediately started boiling water in an electric kettle. Foreigners only drink hot water when brewing tea or coffee. To be honest, I don't quite agree with your plan for the Lakers' new season. Such a Lakers team is too slow. Moreover, the combination of Divac and Grant's inside lines lacks scoring ability. The team's scoring pressure is entirely on Kobe. In the current NBA, there hasn't been any small ball craze yet. The Suns' 7-second offensive will only sweep the league next season, and the offensive and defensive tactics in positional games are still mainstream. However, even so, the combination of Divac and Brian Grant, a blue-collar insider, is completely mismatched. Don't think that Divac is white, and coupled with the Kings' Princeton offensive system, he has a very stable shooting ability. His shooting outside the 3-second zone is also dependent on the weather. Grant is an absolute blue-collar worker, scoring mainly through a second attack. This combination, even if it can ensure health, has no deterrent power. Lamar Odom can indeed appear in the position of power forward, but his skills are very comprehensive. Being in the position of power forward sometimes limits him. On the contrary, in the flank position, he can better leverage his height advantage and do a good job of protecting the inside line. Players like Divac are much smarter than you imagine. Last season, Chris Webber was absent for most of the season, and the double tower interiors of Divac and Miller still ensured that the Kings would lead the league for a long time, and he taught Miller a lot. In the competition, he can also provide a lot of experiential help to Lamar. Tomjanovich put forward his own opinion: Kobe needs to focus more on the offensive end, and Chalky is not good at organization. We need Divac's experience to help stabilize the team. However, this 34-year-old veteran's form is always declining, and we cannot guarantee that Divac will still perform the same way as last season, including Brian. Even if their condition can be maintained well, Chris Mim is not an ideal substitute for the inside line. No one can guarantee that the team will always be healthy throughout the long season, and we need other strength to support the team. Without actual results to support it, it is still difficult to persuade Tomjanovich. Kuyen changed his discussion strategy and focused on improving the team's lineup. Within the limited operational space, suitable players should be brought to prepare for the future. You have a suitable candidate, Kimmy. Our current operational space is not very large. Although the Lakers are a wealthy team, they also have the common problem of intense internal struggles, even to the point of mutual obstruction. Under Old Bath, Jenny Bath, Jim Bath, and Kupchak each have their own thoughts. Even Kobe, Tomjanovich, Phil Jackson, and even the departed Shaquille O'Neal are the pieces of their mutual struggle. Therefore, if you want to make any trade to strengthen, it's just minor repairs and minor repayments. Big moves really have some resistance. It's not very troublesome, Kuyen said and handed over the materials he had prepared to Tomjanovich. Before the start of the season, there were hardly any trades. There were a total of 3 reinforcements for Kuyen's character, either free agents who had not yet been signed, or fringe players from their respective teams. Chris Anderson, 26 years old, 6 feet 10, 209 centimeters, 227 pounds, 103 kilograms, has outstanding bouncing skills and is good at blocking. He has played 71 times as a substitute, averaging 14.5 minutes per game and scoring 3.4 points and 4.2 rebounds. He blocks 114 times in a single season, ranking second in the league every 48 minutes. He participated in a dunk contest and finished third. He is now a free agent. Steve Blake, 24 years old, was selected by the Washington Wizards in the 38th overall pick of the second round of the 2003 draft. In his rookie season, Blake made 75 appearances, averaging 5.9 points and 2.8 assists in 18.5 minutes on the field. However, the Wizards had Arenas and Larry Hughes in this position, so the trade was not difficult. Eddie House, 26 years old, was selected by the Miami Heat as the 37th overall pick in the second round of 2000. He signed with the Los Angeles Clippers as a free agent on August 13, 2003. On January 14, 2004, he was traded to the Charlotte Bobcats. As a point guard, Eddie House's ball control ability is limited, and his organizational ability is beyond words. However, his advantage is also outstanding. He has a fast, accurate, and ruthless three-point shot, with 60% of his shots coming from outside the three-point line. After quickly moving his feet to adjust his position, he can shoot with a shooting rate of up to 39%. Bringing in these bottom-tier players in the league is not difficult for the current Lakers, and the information provided by Kuyen also shows that these players each have their own characteristics. Tomjanovich nodded and said, "I need to investigate again." The trade between Steve Blake and Eddie House may not be urgent, but Anderson's signing must be done as soon as possible. He is a key factor in solving the team's internal athletic ability. Kuyen once again emphasized the importance of Anderson, whose operational difficulty is also the lowest, and a minimum wage contract is enough. The biggest problem for the Lakers is rebounding. Anderson, known for his rebounds and blocks, can solve this problem immediately, at least for emergency use. When a new official takes office, Tomjanovich still carries some weight in front of senior management. On the third day after he came to make a request to Kupchak, Birdman Anderson came to the Lakers training facility for a trial. This is also an advantage for top-tier teams. Generally speaking, the trial invitations they send out are ranked at the top of the player's trial priority. Anderson, who appeared in the Lakers training center, was not quite the same as the Birdman in Kuyen's impression. Although he was already covered in tattoos and colorful, at this time, Anderson did not leave behind the tense chicken coop head of later generations, only a head of long hair. Even so, in the NBA, which has all sorts of bizarre appearances, Anderson can still be considered an alternative. The image may be very different, and Anderson's playing style at this time is very similar to the Birdman who flew in and out of the penalty area in Kuyen's impression. This kind of trial has always been like this, without too much cooperation, which greatly tests the individual abilities of the players. Anderson showed obvious advantages and disadvantages in this trial. Excellent physical fitness, able to complete beautiful dunks, skilled in blocking, with a sense of rushing for rebounds in the front court, and good ability to complete second attacks. Weak top defense ability, poor defensive positioning, and a love for blocking that can easily cause stuttering. In addition, the personality is not good, and the trial players curse on the field. The team's overall athletic ability in the interior is currently weak, and we need someone who can run and jump to supplement it. After seeing Anderson's performance on the sidelines, Tomjanovich gave his opinion and supported the signing of Anderson. With such a unique guy around, our substitute would be a bit more lively. Jim Bass, who arrived at the training center, also voted in favor after seeing Anderson's performance. How to put it, playing in Los Angeles, strength is one aspect, and gimmicks are also important. This guy, just like Rodman, is quite interesting. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Pouring a cappuccino for Brian Shaw. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Pouring a cappuccino for Brian Shaw. A basic salary contract signed Anderson, and the Lakers posted the news of signing Chris Anderson on their official account, which is not worth paying attention to for Lakers fans. They traded O'Neal and Payton in this summer, and at the same time, Cameron refused invitations from other teams and chose to retire directly. They only had Kobe, who has not completely escaped the charges and the judge has not yet acquitted him. If this matter is not completely resolved, Lakers fans will not be able to rest assured. For time and space traveler, Kuyen, he is aware of the subsequent outcome of this matter. It's nothing more than the common solution of wealthy people, spending money to alleviate disasters. In addition to the cost of reaching an out-of-court settlement, Kobe's commercial value was severely damaged, multiple sponsors terminated their cooperation with him, and the biggest blow to Kobe himself was Vanessa's miscarriage. The loss of commercial value on Kobe's body has nothing to do with Kuyen. After temporarily staying in the dormitory arranged by the team for a few days, Kuyen began looking for a house near the Staples Center. Although it has been 2 years since he came to the United States, Kuyen is still more accustomed to living in Chinese gathering areas. Previously, whether in Houston or Phoenix, he stayed with Chinese landlords, making communication more comfortable. "Hello, is Mr. Chen right? I'm Kuyen. I contacted you on the phone before. May I ask if it's convenient to go and check the room now?" Kuyen packed his luggage from the dormitory and sat on the bed. He called the landlord and planned to go and check it out today. Kimmy. Have you come to my house yet? The landlord's name is Chen Shijun, a Chinese American from the Treasure Island of China. His home is about a 20-minute drive from the Staples Center, which is very convenient for Kuyen. "No, I'm ready to leave. Let me confirm the time with you," explained Kuyen. "I'm not staying at home for the time being. The key is under the mat in the garden doghouse. You can just take the key and open the door." This plot seems a bit off. How do you feel like this landlord is unreliable? Deep down, I am already somewhat dissatisfied and even don't want to rent. But living in the dormitory on this side of the gym is not very convenient for anything. Recently, Kuyen has also developed the idea of owning a dog and needs a relatively spacious space. After hesitating for a moment, Kuyen still set off with his suitcase and went to take a look before making a decision. The community where this house is located is also a gathering area for Asians. In addition to Chinese, there are also some Asians from other countries, which is relatively safe and secure. Pushing open the door and entering, the interior is also very tidy. The sofa, TV, and refrigerator are all covered with cloth, but there is no dust. I don't live here, but I come here regularly to clean up. After checking the water, electricity, and heating, and confirming that there were no issues, Kuyen called Chen Shijun again to confirm the rental issue. "I only rent one room, are you sure the weekly rent is $400? Kuyen emphasized. "There are no other tenants here. If Chen Shijun doesn't come back, it's equivalent to Kuyen offering rent for one room and enjoying a whole house. Except for no one to accompany, everything else is really good. There is also a dog house outside, and Kuyen has no problem keeping dogs." "That's right. That's the price. I'll stay back regularly, and maybe I'll rent another room to someone else at some point." "Okay. I want to explain to you that if there are roommates, it would be best if they are Chinese," Kuyen reminded. "Me too. So, everything is perfect." On the 13th, the Olympic Games grandly opened in Athens. This competition is the one where the Dream Team aspires to regain its former glory after losing at the 2002 World Championships. However, there were rumors on the eve of the Olympics that K-terrorists were planning to launch an air raid on Athens. As a result, 9 players from the preliminary list of the Dream 6 team eventually withdrew from the team. In the end, only 2 big names, Duncan and Iverson, along with some second-tier stars and first- and second-year child soldiers, were left to play at the Olympics. Before the Olympics, the Dream 6 team was defeated by Italy by 17 points in Cologne, Germany. 2 days later, in Cologne, Allen Iverson's oversized size won a 3-point victory over Germany, and the Dream 6 team struggled to win with a 3-point advantage. Immediately, the names, Paper Tiger, and Nightmare Team, were already pinned on the head of the Dream 6 team. However, Insiders around Kuyen still maintain the invincible pride of the Dream Team, believing that the team has always been complacent, coupled with poor adaptation. As long as more effort is put into training, no team can stop the wheels of the Dream 6 team. Our opponent in the first game was Puerto Rico. Who can tell me who they are in the NBA? Oh, haha. Brian Shaw, the second assistant coach of the Lakers this season, is a typical frog in the well, ignoring the rules difference between FIBA and NBA and making big comments here. Come on, Brian. The NBA represents the highest level of basketball today, but many players in European leagues are also very outstanding. Don't forget that in the semi-finals of the last Olympics, the US team was almost defeated by Lithuania's Majanskas, and they didn't make it to the semi-finals of the World Championships. Kuyen reminded, if we don't make changes, Athens will only be a continuation of Indianapolis. The World Championships and the Olympics are really different. Just like the difference between the regular season and the playoffs. Oh, by the way. Kimmy, you have never followed a team to the playoffs, sorry. I think you really don't understand the NBA yet. Although just a mediocre player averaging 5.3 points per game in his professional career, Brian Shaw's position on the team is elevated due to his remarkable feat of following the Lakers to win 3 consecutive championships. In the coaching staff, except for Tom Janovich, who also holds 2 championship rings and is recognized as a famous coach, including chief assistant Frank Hamburg and third assistant Kuyen, he does not pay attention to them, and even some of the team's key players are not in his eyes. Joey Fitton, don't think girls are looking at you, they are actually looking at Justin Black. Kuyen used the meme of the male idol group Superboy back then to mock Brian Shaw as just a thigh hugger. Fuck. What are you talking about? Brian Shaw stood up, pointing at Kuyen's nose and scolded, don't think you can send Yao Ming to the starting position of the All-Star. Your basketball has already risen, and you're still far behind. So, what does the strength of American basketball have to do with you? Are you the person who leads American basketball forward? Or are you used to using the strength of a team to fake tiger power? Because you only have this ability, Kuyen didn't even stand up, grabbed Brian Shaw's finger, bent it hard, and made Brian Shaw lower in pain. Stop. Originally just a discussion, Brian Shaw and Kuyen actually got into a fight, which Tom Janovich didn't expect. What surprised him even more was that the content of the dispute between the two had already escalated to the level of the country and ethnicity. If the argument continued, the book would be sealed. Frank Humberlane also grabbed Kuyen, signaling him not to argue with Brian Shaw. The leaders' argument came to an end, and Kuyen and Brian Shaw were separated by Humberlane to sit, both of them feeling angry. Brian, I bet Puerto Rico wins against the United States. Do you dare to join me? Just as Brian Shaw sat down, Kuyen started provoking again, so angry that he stood up again. Someone gave me money, why don't you dare? Puerto Rico can win against the US team. Can it win against the US team? If he can win against the US team, lie. N. Shaw. Eat all the basketball in this training facility on the spot. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Correct defense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Correct defense 73.92, the first game of the Athens Olympics, faced Puerto Rico, poor relative, from outside the United States. The U.S. team not only lost, but also suffered a disastrous defeat. The record of 24 consecutive wins in Olympic history has come to an end. This is also the most painful failure in the history of American basketball. In the 40-minute game, Puerto Rico led by 33 minutes. Apart from a slight confrontation at the beginning, it was almost a one-sided victory for Puerto Rico. At the end of the first half, Puerto Rico took a 49.27 lead, with a 22-point lead remaining for a long time in the second half. Although the Dream Team had a strong comeback and narrowed the difference to 8 points, in the fourth quarter, Arroyo, who had the highest score of 24 points, 7 assists, and 4 steals, completely controlled the game. Every time he made a breakthrough and scored, NBA superstars were unable to stop him. This Utah Jazz substitute guard completely buried a proud history of American basketball. When two players, Duncan and Iverson, were on the sidelines, both sides could barely maintain a balance, and after the two superstars left the field, young people had no way to cope with FIBA's joint defense system. If no changes are made, Athens will only be a continuation of Indianapolis. Just one day later, Kuyen's words were taken to heart. Upon arriving at the training center, Kuyen did not see Brian Shaw, who had agreed to eat up all the basketball in the training center. Instead, he saw Anderson, whom he had signed with great strength, practicing his offensive steps under the guidance of his trainer. He couldn't help but feel a little relieved. How to put it, although it's just a base salary, for the coaching staff, Anderson is likely just a substitute on the bench, and it's difficult to get a chance in the early stages of the season. However, the difficulties faced by the Lakers in the new season are clear to Kuyen. As long as Anderson adjusts to his best form at the beginning of the new season, it is not difficult to find opportunities to rise to the top. Chris, is it convenient to chat? During the training break, Kuyen took a bottle of water and walked towards Anderson, who was panting heavily with his head down. Unlike other players, Anderson's basketball experience is very unique because no one taught him the registration process. He missed the draft and later played in the CBA. Also, due to that interesting experience, Anderson had a slightly higher acceptance of Chinese people. As a response, Kuyen reached out and took the mineral water handed over by Kuyen. He didn't mind Anderson's rudeness and continued, "Have you ever considered signing with the team? What qualities do you hope you can provide in the team?" "Of course it's my ceiling ability. People with simple brains only value things on statistical tables." Anderson, looking at his own data, also feels that his foundation in the NBA is based on this. Of course, Anderson's other data is not particularly impressive. If it's just blocking, I want to say that no coach would think Camby's defense is better than Duncan's. The team needs players who make the right defensive behavior on the field. What exactly do you want to say? Anderson's emotions were a bit irritable. When he heard something he didn't like to hear, he immediately stood up and showed impatience. What I want to say is that if you want to get more opportunities with the Lakers, you must understand what the team needs, where you should make progress, and how to make progress, rather than just working hard here, said Kuyen, turning around and leaving. He handed over the choice to Anderson. If Anderson wants to make the right progress, he will naturally come to him proactively. Just like the college entrance examination, except for a few geniuses who can achieve full marks in each subject, most ordinary students must have advantageous subjects, such as lame leg subjects. If you want to get into a good university, you must score more in your strengths, find the right learning methods within your abilities, and fill in the gaps in your weaknesses. It turned out that Anderson was still eager to improve, and half an hour later he came to the coaching staff's office and asked Kuyen about the direction he should strive for. "This is your report on advanced data from last season, highlighted in red as indicators below the league average. The data shows that your defensive efficiency is actually below the league average," Kuyen said positively. "Is the defensive efficiency of a player who can send 1.2 blocks per game in just 18 minutes lower than the league average?" The report is indeed written in black and white. Compared to Camby's tendency to dribble and block shots, Anderson's defensive problems are mainly due to insufficient lower limb strength, making it easy for others to push away shooting space. Secondly, he lacks defensive experience and has poor positioning habits. Thirdly, his defensive skills are insufficient, making him prone to stumbling. Improving your influence on the defensive end is what you should do and can do, rather than practicing any moves on the offensive end. By doing these things well, you can get a chance to play on the Lakers. Defensive experience needs to be gradually accumulated in the game, but lower limb strength and defensive skills can be improved in training. It depends on whether you are willing to practice hard or not. Of course, how should I practice? The training of lower limb strength is different from that of the upper limbs. Overloading can cause irreversible damage to the knee meniscus or ligaments for athletes. This type of training emphasizes long-term persistence. Kuyen also prepared a standard training plan for Anderson. To strengthen defensive skills, it is necessary to watch videos and train simultaneously. Kuyen has made video clips and text interpretations of the work of defensive giants such as Garnett, Duncan, and Ben Wallace on the defensive end, all of which have been prepared in his file bag. Anderson's eyes lit up when he saw the file bag, which might have read, "If you want to practice this skill, bring a sword to your palace." Anderson would not hesitate to cut it. However, Kuyen suddenly withdrew the file bag. "Do you want it?" Kuyen looked at Anderson and asked. "Of course. I'll assign you a task." Brian Shaw didn't even show up at the training center today, so he's probably trying to figure out how to solve the problem of losing his bet. Kuyen also knows that the other party cannot really eat all these dozens of basketballs, but he also plans to give the other party some punishment. "So, who are you trying to prank?" Upon hearing words like mustard and cake, Anderson immediately understood who Kuyen was trying to prank, and his eyes lit up. This is much more exciting than stuffing popcorn into someone else's car. "I can guarantee that the plan here can help you, but you don't even want it." Kuyen shook his file bag and settled on Anderson. "Kimmy. Ordering a cake costs money." The real problem is that Anderson, who earns an annual salary of $1 million, is shy and blushes as he demands funding from Kuyen, who earns an annual salary of $500,000. "Someone will pay. Don't worry." The file bag was thrown at Anderson, and Kuyen turned around and left the office. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Best Player in Los Angeles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Best Player in Los Angeles. The performance of the United States team at the Olympics was indescribable, but at this time, Kobe's return was welcomed in the Lakers' training facility. So far, the handling of the case has largely settled, and in principle, both sides have reached an out-of-court settlement. After paying a huge price, Kobe will at least not face imprisonment. As for the loss of popularity in this incident, we will have to rely on our own performance in the new season to slowly recover. At least the entire Lakers team, whether it's the team's executives or fans, are on his side. Kobe originally thought that the team would only gather at the beginning of the preseason, but he didn't expect that there was a strange person in the training hall who, like him, was already eager for the new season. Busy with matters in court, Kobe can only say that he has a partial understanding of the team's operations this summer. He only knows that O'Neal, Payton, and Fisher have left the team one after another, and the team has added players like Odom, Butler, and Atkins. As for some adjustments to the bench players, Kobe didn't pay much attention to them. "Hey, Kobe. Welcome back." Anderson smiled happily, like a child. Unlike the attitude of facing Kuyen, Anderson undoubtedly had some admiration for Kobe. Kobe's reaction was strange. Firstly, he never had a very sociable personality and would not fish or gather with his teammates. Secondly, he was clearly the master of the Lakers. How could this guy in front of him be so conscious of taking the lead? In Anderson's eyes, Kobe's lukewarm attitude didn't bother him either. After continuing to train in defensive positions for a while, he went to the gym to exercise his lower limb strength. A set of weight-bearing archery steps followed by leg lifts, a set of weight-bearing prone high leg lifts, and a set of single-leg hard pull followed by knee lifts are all specialized training aimed at improving lower limb strength. After completing one set of movements, Anderson flipped over directly onto the mat, feeling that the training intensity may not seem high, but the consumption after completion is astonishing. This is how lower limb strength training is. The intensity is not suitable for too high, but the duration is long, boring, and even tests the player's willpower. In Kuyen's view, players from different positions should also have different training methods. A center has a set of training methods for a center, a defender has a back, and even within the back, Atkins and Kobe's training plans should also be different. He has already developed corresponding training plans for some players in the team, listing the benefits of equipment training, as well as the maintenance of their own abilities, as well as suggestions for players to work more in certain areas, etc. He waited for the appropriate time to speak to Tomjanovich. After losing his bet with Kuyen, Brian Shaw evaded Kuyen for several days, thinking that the Dream Team would not steam Mantu for breath in the next game and win the Olympic gold medal, so that he could also use Tiger Snooze to prevaricate. However, everything was really as predicted by Kuyen. After defeating Greece and Australia in a row to secure group qualification, Dream 6 suffered a setback against Lithuania and lost their second game in Olympic history. Jaskovius, who had previously played at a super high level against the Dream Team at the Sydney Olympics, scored 28 points in this game, and NBA superstars were showcased in front of the European superstars. No, this guy guessed so accurately. After losing the game against Lithuania, Brian Shaw sighed in his heart, but also admired Kuyen's bold prediction. Not only in this game, but also in the previous two wins against Greece and Australia, the Dream Team only won 6 points and 10 points respectively. Dominance is no longer obvious. As long as there are no particularly superstitious or rigid people, it can be seen that the Dream 6 team did not have the impressive strength in the Athens Olympics. If they do not lower their posture, the team may not be able to have a smooth sailing in the knockout stage. After losing the bet, there is no excuse to win back the city. For Brian Shaw, there are only two paths ahead. One is to find a way to drive Kuyen out of the Lakers, This is really difficult, after all, his surname is Shaw, not Bath. The other is to apologize and admit his mistake obediently, and he won't be able to look up in front of Kuyen in the future. After much thought, he called Tomjanovich and tried to mediate the matter through his leadership. There are many people who can handle this matter, except for Tomjanovich, Kupchak, and even the base siblings can all solve it in one sentence. However, if they were to look up to this Chinese frontline, Brian Shaw felt it was not worth it. The kind-hearted Tomjanovich did not refuse Brian Shaw's request. After all, it also concerns the unity of the team. Immediately, the next day, he invited Kuyen to the office and talked about this matter. Okay, to be honest, I'm prepared to retaliate against the other party. But since Rudy spoke up, I won't ask the other party to play basketball. Kuyen smiled and nodded, accepting Tomjanovich's mediation. A young person who knows current affairs very well. Tomjanovich nodded, satisfied with the other person's generosity. This team, which lost their championship just last season due to infighting, cannot withstand any turmoil. But I have prepared something else for Brian. Don't worry, it won't be a very painful punishment. Tomjanovich has a big head, how can he say it? This Kuyen is really different from Yao Ming. Without the inherent impression, the humility and steadfastness of the Chinese people are actually flying and jumping off, difficult to ponder. I just don't know how he's going to mess with Brian Shaw this time. When leaving the office, Kuyen habitually came to the training hall. The internal staff of the sports hall was in a 1-on-1 confrontation with the trainer, giving a thumbs up and shouting, "Fishing." Kuyen was about to leave, but he heard a heavy "Kimmy" from behind. Kobe spoke up and stopped Kuyen. "Is there anything wrong?" Kuyen turned around and walked over, only to realize that the player who was training with Kobe was not anyone else, but an important figure in Kuyen's plan for the team, Karen Butler. Regarding Brian's situation. Kobe paused, "I hope the team won't have any internal disputes in the new season, and everyone can fully devote themselves to the game, do you think?" Kobe's relationship with his teammates is relatively average, but it doesn't mean he doesn't have close relationships with others on the team. Brian Shaw joined the Lakers in 1998 and served for 6 years, making him Kobe's big brother. It's natural for Kobe to speak up for him when he learns about this. Kuyen had long known that Anderson was ready for a punishment against Brian Shaw, which was much lighter than eating basketball, but his concession was limited to that, even if Kobe spoke up. I won't really force him to eat basketball, but I will also make him fulfill his bet within his ability, so that I think it's respect for him as a man, don't you think? Kuyen responded to Kobe, introduced himself to Butler next to him, and then hugged him. Of course, a small lesson is enough, Kobe nodded in agreement with Kuyen's words. Kobe, do you know why the US team struggled in the Olympics? Why? Because the best player hasn't been deployed, he's in Los Angeles, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Born for basketball, seeking subscription, seeking collection, seeking follow-up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Born for basketball, seeking subscription, seeking collection, seeking follow-up. Great splitting for readers. Kuyen stated that Brian Shaw would accept a small punishment in a man-like manner, and finally, the second assistant coach of the Lakers dared to appear in the team's training center. On behalf of Kuyen, Anderson retrieved the final punishment for Brian Shaw from the cake shop, which was a basketball-shaped cake of the same size as a basketball. After the training session, amidst the cheers of players and coaches, Brian stood happily in the center of the crowd, accepting the punishment of his blind confidence. Guys, you all know that my stomach is big, and this cake is nothing to me. Without even using a fork, Brian Shaw picked it up and tore off a piece, stuffing it into his mouth. Then, his smile gradually stiffened. He thought Kuyen's prank was just a test of his stomach, but in reality, the cake was coated with several layers of specially made mustard sauce, and when he tasted it, his tongue turned green. Okay, it's delicious. After all, I come from an athlete background and have a stronger tolerance for sensory pain than ordinary people. Of course, if I continue to eat it, the physiological stimulation to the lacrimal gland cannot be controlled by subjective consciousness. Brian Shaw's old face soon covered with 2 lines of clear tears, and his nose began to twitch involuntarily. Wow! Why did you cry? Was it moved? Kuyen, the initiator, stepped forward and teased, Brian, don't thank me too much. Brian said with a crying voice, I cry for the dream team, ha ha ha. Amidst the cheers, everyone also stepped forward to help Brian Shaw share this mustard cake, and then screamed and cursed incessantly in pain. Oh my goodness, what the hell is this? It's so disgusting. Brian, only you can eat these things. If I were you, I would rather go eat basketball than eat this thing again. Kimmy, you're so vicious, nauseous. The best outcome was to transform the conflict caused by a seemingly insignificant bet between 2 coaching assistants into an opportunity to heat up the relationship within the Lakers. However, was this intentional by Kuyen or was it a natural outcome after unintentional insertion? No one will know. In summary, the result is good. For the Lakers, that's enough. Media Day, also known as Media Meeting Day, is a time when players and coaches force the media to take photos and conduct interviews. Team staff also need to attend and have the media film the team's training. If there are any questions from reporters, they must also answer them, which is a mandatory requirement of the league, in order to establish a closer relationship with the media. After Kuyen arrived at the stadium, he greeted the players. Among them, Chris Anderson and Karen Butler have a closer relationship with him, as Kuyen provided them with positive suggestions during pre-season training, which to some extent expressed the coaching staff's importance to them. Therefore, the relationship is good. Odom, who returned from his defeat in Athens, also appeared on today's media conference day, marking the first time Kuyen had met him. Odom was praised by the media as the new second in command of the Lakers, and he smiled very obsequiously. Miami is indeed great, with sunshine, beaches, beautiful women, and a very convenient lifestyle, but there is still a gap compared to Los Angeles. Moreover, isn't it more prestigious to play for Kobe than to play for Wade? The local media in Los Angeles are also very optimistic that Odom, who has comprehensive skills, can become a Pippen around Kobe, giving him a considerable reputation and giving him very high praise in the newspaper page. Butler, who came from the Heat to the Lakers together, received much less attention. Although he was also a fan of the Bulls back then, in terms of position, he was more suitable to play the role of Pippen. However, who makes Odom's all-around a tribute more suitable for Pippen. Kuyen also noticed Butler's desolation and, while taking photos, walked over and hugged the other person's shoulder, saying, "Are you a little envious of Lamar? I think I should be more suitable to play as a small forward, as Lamar is more comfortable playing as a power forward," Butler expressed his thoughts. Last season, the same was true for the Miami Heat. Together with Wade, they helped the Heat reach the Eastern Conference semifinals. With Kobe, who had more comprehensive skills, Butler believed the team had great potential. "I also think so. I think I should sit next to Rudy, in Frank's seat," Kuyen said as he looked at Butler. Pushy, looking back at the thin and weak Kuyen, Butler couldn't help but laugh. "Maybe, I think you have a chance. The position of a small forward doesn't need to be that high, and similarly, being a coach doesn't require Frank to be as strong, does it?" Kuyen used himself as an example to remind Butler that many things are not static. He should perform well in training and in games, and he doesn't lack opportunities. In the end, Odom, who is now favored by the media, is not an obstacle for Butler to become a key player. He can swing to the position of power forward. On the contrary, in the view of Kuyen, the team's selected key power forward Grant is the one who is relatively easy to be squeezed out of the position. Soon, some reporters also noticed the Chinese teaching assistants around Butler. Stephen Smith, a sports journalist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, as a media industry worker, has some impression of the Chinese teaching assistant around Tomjanovich. After all, during the Rockets era, the name Kimmy often appeared next to Yao, but it was unexpected that Tomjanovich would also poach this former assistant from his old team when he came to the Lakers. In the summer, there were rumors that the Lakers were very interested in Yao Ming and hoped to use O'Neal to complete a trade with the Rockets to win the 2002 top pick, including the Lakers hiring Tomjanovich, with the intention of attracting Yao Ming to join in the future. Now, along with Kimmy, it seems that they are working even harder in this direction. After some consideration, Smith walked up to Kuyen and voluntarily requested an interview. "Welcome to Los Angeles, Kimmy. As the assistant coach of the team, what do you think of the team's new season?" Smith asked. "The team has undergone significant changes during the off-season, completing the transition of core players. We have built the team's lineup around Kobe Bryant. The team has added players like Cameron Butler and Chris Anderson, who can provide great help to our lineup and accomplish many things." Kuyen is very particular about the scale of his response, highlighting his foresight, while also demonstrating the team's ambition. After all, the current Lakers executives, players have not yet realized the potential problems the team may encounter. Kobe's court dispute lasted until September and was considered resolved. This incident has had a significant impact on him. Will it further affect the team's performance in the new season? The current media is full of malice towards Kobe, and can ask any question. Even on the team's media open day, they can question him. Now, the whole team needs to endorse him. Personally, I have never doubted Kobe's focus on basketball. He is a player born for basketball. After the season starts, everyone will recognize this. Kuyen is also cunning, constantly praising Kobe's focus on basketball without mentioning anything else. What basketball IQ, shooting choices, never mentioned. When talking about other players, Kuyen also made his own analysis. On the surface, it was all about scenes, but in fact, there was room for improvement. His strengths were exaggerated, and his weaknesses were also left behind. If someone had found this interview again in a few years, he would have exclaimed, "Scientists are just amazing," so they had already seen XX's problem. If the Lakers had promoted him early, how could it have been? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Flying Birdman, seeking support, seeking collections, seeking recommendations. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 8 Flying Birdman, Seeking Support, Seeking Collections, Seeking Recommended Tickets. On September 26, the team held a public training session, and the media and fans who had purchased team tickets could visit. The entire training venue was packed, although Kobe's image was greatly reduced due to this incident. But Lakers fans are still very supportive of him. To put it simply, players still rely on their strength to speak. Kobe's ability is strong enough, his playing style is also elegant, and his appearance is considered stylish among black people, which perfectly fits the pursuit of beauty in the city of Los Angeles. And, after all, the Lakers are one of the top PR teams. Creating a prodigal son turning around persona for Kobe is more in line with the legend and storytelling of a protagonist, isn't it? In addition to watching the team's training matches, fans who purchase package tickets can also receive a short-sleeve T-shirt with the Lakers logo printed on it as a souvenir. Kuyen also received one and simply put it on his long-sleeve T-shirt, which made him even more prominent. As usual, the players first follow the physical trainer to run laps, then shoot and warm up. Kuyen and the team's chief assistant Frank Humberlane are on the sidelines recording the physical condition of the players and discussing the allocation of training tasks to be done later. From the most basic shooting warm-up performance, the Lakers have not had many players practicing this summer. Anderson, who actually started training after signing the trial, and Luke Walton, who performed well in the last season's NBA Finals, are two of the better adjusted players. Butler and Atkins are also quite good, and core players, including Kobe, still need some time to adjust before they can regain their form. After warm-up, 4 players, Butler, Atkins, Devin George, and Brian Cook, began training under the guidance of Kuyen and the shooting coach. But as they practiced, everyone felt something was wrong. Kuyen has arranged a lot of outdoor projection training for them. 3 runs for the top arc probing step, quick 3 runs for the bottom corner catch, and 3 runs for the pick and roll. Generally speaking, the training class for the week before returning from the off-season focuses on the recovery training of physical condition, allowing everyone to adapt to the feeling of the new season's competition again. From the beginning, the focus is on shooting training. What the hell? In the new season, the team's playing style will be very different. Kobe will hold the ball more and attack from the outside, and the team's attack and defense rhythm will be much faster than last season. We will use Kobe's extremely strong scoring ability and ability to attract sandwiches as a tactical pivot, and the players the team needs are the ones who can pull out the attacking space and seize the scoring opportunities. Kuyen explained. It sounds like who can shoot more accurately and have more playing time. Of course, it's not just that simple thing. Otherwise, what's the difference with O'Neal's dominant tactical inside out? Kuyen also continued to provide a detailed explanation. Firstly, under the fast-paced environment, the demand for outside players to run without the ball has increased. Compared to O'Neal, who has sharp teeth in the 3-second zone and can attract 3 or 4 people to wrap around, the space Kobe can create is definitely not enough. This is not related to his strength, but simply determined by the position difference between the 2 core players. Secondly, Kobe is undoubtedly the team's main attacker, but Jordan has a Pippen around him, let alone Kobe. However, Pippen must first adapt to Jordan in order to further showcase his Batman versatility. Kuyen's expectations for Butler are higher than those of Odom. Because it is an open training class, there will not be any public tactical exercises, or in other words, the tactics practiced are not what the team will adopt in the new season. On the contrary, some necessary events are group matches. After all, it is to give back to the fans. Tom Janovich and Brian Shaw led the key players, Atkins, Kobe, Odom, Grant, and Mim, to wear yellow vests that symbolize key players. Hamilton and Kuyen were selected from the substitute lineup, with Terry Brown, Karen Butler, Luke Walton, Brian Cook, and Chris Anderson wearing purple training clothes to face them. Both sides can also send out unselected players based on the situation. Kuyen walked up to Butler and smiled, saying, Karen, I'm really looking forward to you playing against Kobe later. If you can perform well, I suggest to Rudy that the persuasiveness of bringing you into the starting lineup will be greatly enhanced. Remember, work more with Luke, he's a great passer. Terry Brown is a relatively mediocre point guard, with no special advantages except for his stability, few mistakes, and not easily misplaced on the defensive end. In terms of Kuyan's arrangement, his task was only to dribble past half court and then run without the ball. The task of organizing the series was entrusted to Luke Walton, a second-generation basketball player with high basketball intelligence. Last season in the NBA Finals, his appearance lubricated the team's obscure offense and helped the Lakers win the only game in the finals. The disadvantage was that his physical fitness was average, he couldn't shoot accurately without much mobility, and his defense was still poor. Of course, that is based on the starting player of the team competing for the championship. At this stage, the Lakers have no right to despise such players because there are many players who are weaker than him. Brian Cook can be considered an alternative in the power forward position in the league. Simply put, he is an insider who relies on outside shooting to make a living, abbreviated as a spatial insider. If he enters the league 10 or even 5 years later, he may have more playing time and earn a longer meal. However, during this period, except for Kuyan, who is willing to arrange tactics for him, other coaches may not be very good at using him. In addition, apart from shooting, most of them are shortcomings. In the substitute team, besides Butler, the other person who has a chance of being promoted to the starting lineup by Kuyan is Anderson. Divak's absence due to injury is an opportunity for him. If he can suppress Mim in direct confrontation, the team has no reason not to reuse him. After all, the Flying Birdman is more gimmicky than the honest Mim, and Los Angeles is a city that places great emphasis on attention grabbing. In the final moments, Kuyan quickly arranged several sudden scoring tactics and a counter run without ball cover, and the game officially started. The basketball was thrown into the air, and Anderson was immediately taken aback. Although slightly shorter than Mim, his bounce and arm span completely compensated for his height deficiency, flying like a spring, and the jump ball won over Mim, reaching Butler's hand. Butler quickly dribbled the ball and took a step within the 3-point line on the left side before suddenly making a quick stop jump shot. Kobe withdrew too far back, and when he tried to block it, he slowed down and watched as Butler made a successful shot. As the main attacker, if you find an opportunity, take a firm shot. It's a training game, so there's no need to hesitate. Kuyan's instructions echoed in Butler's ear, and he also implemented them very firmly. The yellow team attacked, Atkins brought the ball to the front court and immediately handed it to Odom, while Luke Walton defended closely. Odom made a flexible turn and passed the defense, facing Anderson's substitute defense, throwing a high board hit. Odom is certainly an all-around warrior in the position of power forward, but he can easily defeat Walton in the third position, which is not flexible enough. This guy's defense is really damn. Fortunately, in the attacking end, Walton made the right move when handling the ball, creating a 1-on-1 opportunity for Anderson to pass the ball to the basket. Unfortunately, Anderson's strong attack was disrupted by Kobe's defensive support and he was unable to score the ball. In fact, there is a suspicion of Kobe blocking this ball, but the trainer who made a guest appearance as a referee gave Kobe face and only gave the ball to the purple team. The out-of-bounds ball was thrown, Walton ran to catch it, made a quick stop jump shot, and with Odom's interference, the ball went wide. Anderson, who had just suffered a setback, forcefully grabbed the frontcourt rebound from behind Mim, took off continuously, and put the ball into the basket. In the first few minutes of the game, Anderson had a strong presence, which also caught the attention of the fans on the exaggerated Birdman. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 18 Tactics of Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 18 Tactics of Attack. The yellow team's positional attack, Kobe receiving the ball at halftime, Butler defending. Kobe made a feint shot, dribbling the ball from the right side, hitting the ball with his left hand to his right hand, making a significant turn over Butler, swinging halfway out of position, and making a quick stop near the free throw line with a jump shot. Kobe's personal abilities are indeed terrifying. In a 1-on-point-1 situation, even Butler's height and strength are not at a disadvantage, and he cannot be defended. Terry Brown dribbled past half court and passed the ball to Walton again. Anderson and Brian Cook on the inside cleared the ball, and Cook went around the bottom line to the corner to catch the ball. Grant didn't catch up, and everyone watched helplessly as Cook even had time to pat the ball, adjust the rhythm, and throw a 3-point shot like training. Such a large space, you can throw Yao Ming and Duncan into it. Besides, Brian Cook established himself in the NBA by shooting from the outside with one hand. Although it was a training game, Brian Grant's defensive sense of responsibility was really a bit problematic, and Kobe couldn't help but feel a bit unhappy and directly complained. In the next round of attack, Grant actively pulled to the outside to pick and roll for Kobe, then received the ball from the bottom and took a jump shot against Anderson, causing Anderson's foul, which was a timely way to regain some face. On the purple team side, Butler and Cook completed the pick and roll, while Grant and Kobe had a lack of coordination in defense. Butler broke through the defense line, shot into the basket, completed a dunk, and played 2+1 in the practice rounds. Butler and Anderson, who were supported by Kuyanli, performed quite well, while Brian Cook, who has been undervalued by the Lakers for the past few seasons, also found his value in this practice game. The media reporters on site were also surprised to find that the Lakers, who had originally thought their strength had declined significantly, seemed to be really good, and many players seemed to have been activated. On the contrary, Odom, who had high expectations, played alongside Kobe, and apart from eating Walton raw at the beginning, there were not many highlights at other times. At present, Kobe's mentality is actually the key to determining the Lakers' performance in the new season. If he holds the attitude of proving himself through scoring, then his teammates will definitely be hesitant to play, and if he is willing to use his influence on the game to revitalize the team, then it is different. So far, others cannot understand Kobe's true thoughts, which also greatly affects the internal atmosphere of the team. The first to be affected is the second in command, Odom. In the first 10 minutes of the training session, the purple team always maintained a 5.10-point lead, and the scheduling of Humberlane and Kuyen clearly suppressed Tom Janovich as the head coach, which surprised Jerabati, who was present today. Not only in terms of score, but also on the scene, the substitute team had an advantage, and even had several good collaborations, which made the audience on site applaud. This is a very impressive performance. Terry Brown dribbled the ball to the front court and handed it to Walton. Butler ran over and handed the ball to Walton. Walton took advantage of the situation and made a pick and roll, helping Butler shake off Kobe. Faced with Odom, Butler made a decisive breakthrough and forced a layup into the basket, which was disrupted by Odom. This ball also reflects one of Butler's shortcomings, being brave but not strategic. Just now, after he made it to the basket, Mim had already come forward to make up for it, and Anderson was already in an empty position, but he still chose to play hard himself. If Kobe were to face this situation, he would obviously have more choices and greater confidence in the misplaced singles against Odom. As expected, when looking back, Odom and Kobe followed suit with this set of offensive tactics. Kobe played alone against Walton and made steady mid-range shots, without giving the substitute a chance to defend. Not far away, Tomjanovich smiled and looked at Kuyen, feeling no remorse for copying Kuyen's moves. Of course, Kuyen doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. This practice match is just a showcase of his own stage, and Tomjanovich's competition using a cat drawing tiger approach is actually a recognition of Kuyen. Especially in such a highly anticipated competition, it can make professionals in the media aware of Kuyen's abilities. Entering halftime with a 7-point lead, Humberlane and Kuyen praised the players for their performance, while encouraging Anderson and Butler to continue their impact from the basket. In the recent game, it was obvious that Grant and Mim couldn't cover the inside line. Not to mention, Cook can still pull out one more. The first half caused so much trouble for the key players, and these substitute players all felt that they had played well under Kuyen. It was also a passionate desire to use their good performance to fight for more opportunities in this brand new Lakers team. Starting from the second half, in the first leg of the attack, Anderson joined forces with Butler on the defensive end to block Kobe, who did not have a chance to make a forceful shot. He also grabbed the rebound and quickly passed it to Terry Brown to launch a fast attack. A 2.09 tall man actively stepped down and ran with his feet wide. His impact was also extremely intimidating. He received a free throw from Terry Brown, and Anderson took a step, took off directly, and completed a one-handed chop. Blocking Kobe, launching a fast attack, and taking a jump and dunk within the free throw line. If this series of actions occur in the regular season, it will definitely be the top 5 best shots. At that time, you can also hear the commentary on Yoga's 5 best balls. Let's see Birdman Anderson blocking the sky and blocking Kobe on the defensive end, fast attacking and lightly expressing his ape arms, and fiercely splitting Hwashan. And in this practice match, Anderson also became the most catching person in the entire game besides Kobe. Although from an insider's perspective, he also has some problems, but today's performance is indeed better than Mim's, and his playing style is really pretty good. The yellow team attacked, and Kobe, who had lost face due to being blocked in the previous round, was determined to regain the field this round. He went deep to the left to enter the penalty area, took the ball closer, turned around, and made a jump shot. In fact, Kuyen guessed that Kobe would definitely hit the ball himself, but due to considerations of Kobe's personality and the balance of the team atmosphere, he did not choose to double-team. There's no need to provoke Kobe during training. Walton had a quick start from the bottom line, Terry Brown quickly advanced to the front court to pass the ball, and Anderson once again used his speed advantage to shake off Mim. He received the ball from the center and went straight to the basket, causing a foul against Grant's substitute defense. The fans at the scene cheered Anderson again, which made Birdman quite excited. Then, he made 2 free throws. Not even a typical center's weakness in free throws. It seems to have more cultivation value. Of course, this is a random phenomenon. Objectively speaking, Anderson's free throws are not very good, with a shooting percentage of only around 55% to 60%. However, some people are going crazy with this guy. Today's game was smooth and even the free throws were superb. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Every NBA player, in their own story. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Every NBA player, in their own story, is Jordan, new book, collection, recommendation. Atkins continued to pass the ball after half-court, but as a point guard, his organizational skills were mediocre and he was better at individual offense and shooting. But today Kobe's passing willingness is not very strong, and he still needs to allocate some ball rights to Odom. Kobe played against Butler in a singles game, with a quick stop and a wide jump shot. Odom, who had previously been mediocre, successfully grabbed a rebound and scored a dunk from the basket. For Tom Janovich, a noteworthy figure is today's rebounding data. His inner partner was Cook, who was standing outside, while Anderson single-handedly faced Odom, Grant, and Mim, grabbing 6 rebounds. The 3 of them combined to grab 8. It should be noted that Mim is still a defensive meat shield. If Grant's inner partner were replaced by an older, slower, and worse bouncing Divac, the Lakers' starting inner combination would encounter a stronger opponent, and their rebounds would explode. It's really hard to imagine what kind of situation Mim would face. The purple team players attacked, and Cook and Anderson once again completed a ball-free pick and roll coordination. After Cook blocked Grant, Mim ran out to make up for the ball. Anderson received the ball in the 3-second zone and leaned against Grant for the first time. The next step was very simple, which was to take off and forcefully dunk the ball into the basket. Anderson's summer training for lower limb strength has shown initial results. If we talk about the previous Anderson, his top defense against Grant may not be able to stand up, which is an improvement. The situation surprisingly became more passive. Tomljanovic shouted loudly from the sidelines, and the yellow team played a tactic. Kobe rushed into the basket to attract the double and then gave it to Odom, who easily laid up and scored, helping the team stop bleeding. However, on the defensive end, Odom's tendency to get distracted was once again exposed, perhaps due to the team's frequent problems under the basket. Odom stayed under the basket and let out Walton from the outside. And then Walton missed 3 runs in the open space. Kuyen sighed on the sidelines. No matter how powerful the coach is and how well the tactics are designed, there's no way you can't take an empty shot. The coach can't help you go on the court and shoot. The game continued, and Odom forced Walton with his back, showing a significant difference in strength. Walton had no choice but to break through. Anderson made up the defense, Odom passed the ball from the right to the left basket, and Mim was empty. He dunked the basketball with both hands and continued to narrow the gap. The difference in individual abilities of the players is quite obvious, and Kuyen has made adjustments by giving Sharapova's future boyfriend Vujasic a chance to play and replacing Walton. Compared to Walton, Vujasic's open shots are relatively reliable, but at the same time, defense is also about non-existent. It's not that he doesn't work hard on defense, but that in NBA-level confrontation, no one can really defend. Kuyen's substitution is more about showcasing his ability to manage players, whether it's Walton or Vujasic, the focus is on showcasing their characteristics. Don't underestimate these NBA character players. Every player who can play in the NBA is Jordan in their own story. Kobe felt embarrassed to continue using his body singles to force the score even after 2 close draws against Sasha. How to put it, the yellow team is running tactics over there, while the purple team relies on their personal abilities to win. Even if they say they win, they won't have face. Vujasic, Cook nailed to the outside line, Anderson pulled to the outside line to pick and roll for Butler, and after Mim added defense, he couldn't catch Anderson who went down. However, the latter's top defense against Kobe under the basket, forced layups, and missed, also exposed his rough technical shortcomings. Anderson didn't score the goal, but the team's cooperation came out. While observing this training match on the sidelines, Jerry Bass also received first-hand information from Kuyen. Chinese, born in 1979, currently 25 years old, went to Cologne Sports Institute, the largest sports academy in Europe, to study in 1998. In 2001, he served as a youth training coach for Stuttgart in the German Basketball League. I came to the United States in July 2002 and worked as an assistant coach for the Houston Rockets. In January 2004, he resigned from the Rockets and joined the Phoenix Suns as an assistant coach in February. 2 months ago, he was invited by Tomljanovic to join the Lakers. Putting aside age, he was chosen by Tomljanovic to take care of Yao Ming and join the Rockets. But Bass also noticed that in this practice match, almost all of the yellow team were commanded and dispatched by Kuyen. The several tactics he designed fully utilized the characteristics of the players in his hands, and after Tomljanovic drew a gourd, it was confirmed that he had a considerable practical effect. This kind of talent is really worth the attention of the Lakers management. Odom broke through the defense, shot to the basket, attracted Anderson to defend, and then passed the ball to Mim, who turned around and took a jump shot to avoid the block. The ball went wide again, but he successfully grabbed the rebound and made up for it. Cook gave Butler a ball-free cover on the left side, while Odom and Grant passively changed defense. Grant was annoyed by this ball-free cover today, and frequent changes made the veteran very uncomfortable. However, this is exactly the effect that Kuyen is pursuing. How uncomfortable Grant was during today's practice match, the more he had a say in the coaching staff. Terry Brown took 2 steps to pass the ball to Butler, who received the ball on the left side frame with a slight pause and feigned Grant, hitting the board. Although not as eye-catching as Birdman Anderson, Butler played as the attacking core for the purple team today, and his performance was also very impressive, no less than Lamar Odom, who was more valued by the team. Tomjanovich made a substitution adjustment, bringing Walton, who was still with the purple team, to the starting team and replacing Grant, who was a bit uncomfortable and targeted by Kuyen. On the yellow team side, the attacking situation suddenly became clear. Odom's maneuverability allows him to keep up with Butler, Cook, and Anderson's dribbless picks and tackles, and he can also support Anderson in the interior. On the offensive end, he even threw a three-pointer, which raised eyebrows for Ko-Yen, who had previously underestimated him. After a 17.5 attack wave, the yellow team reversed the difference and ultimately won this 20-minute practice match with a score of 63.54. The quality of the game is relatively good. Captain Huang was in a leading position for a while, at most leading by 9 points. This was based on Kobe's use of singles to help the main team stop bleeding. At the same time, this game also has a touch on the coaching staff and even management, that is, whether the team's current situation should be adjusted to the originally planned main lineup, whether to continue to trust the veteran to regain their form in the regular season, or to appropriately promote young people to the top. Everyone walked to the center of the field together and waved to the surrounding fans, announcing the end of the training session, while the players were interviewed on the sidelines. Many reporters surrounded Anderson, who was shining brightly. He was indeed the most eye-catching person in the game, with rebounds, dunks, and even blocked Kobe. The key is that he had high recognition with tattoos all over his body, and this guy with a very hanging expression could be noticed at a glance in the crowd. Birdman is also a person who repays kindness and praises Kuyen directly in front of the media. I followed Kimmy's arrangement to carry out my training plan and demonstrated my training results. Today, it was his arrangement that helped me find a comfortable way to compete. Tomjanovich also praised the team's coaching team in front of reporters, saying, "Through this training match, everyone can see the depth of our lineup, we can make various tactical adjustments, and our coaching team is also great, especially for some young coaches. My cooperation with them has sparked a different spark, and I hope we can have a season that satisfies the fans." Chris Anderson's performance is very good. "Will he be the starting lineup for the Lakers in the new season?" asked the reporter. "His performance is very good, and we will make good use of him to let him show more energy in the game." End of this chapter.